Happening now. We want to welcome our viewers from across the United States and around the world. This is the EdTech Situation Room. Good morning, good day, good evening. This is EdTech Situation Room, episode number 371 on March 25th, 2026. My name is Jason Neifer. I'm the Executive Director of Montana Digital Academy, which is Montana State Virtual School located on the beautiful University of Montana campus right here in Western Montana. But hey, it's not about Western Montana tonight. It's about North Carolina. Go, Dr. Fryer.
Hello, Jason. This is Wes, and I'm here in Charlotte, where it's been a bit schizophrenic with our weather. Not as much as Kansas was for spring break last week, but we're back in school. I'm teaching media literacy and STEM here in Charlotte, and I'm excited that we get to talk because we've been on the road doing different things for a few weeks. So we're almost like the twice a month show, or the fortnightly, maybe.
Yeah, the bi-monthly situation.
Bi-monthly, fortnightly. So,
well, Dr. Fryer, what do we do here at the EdTech Situation Room?
We are going to talk about tech news. So we are excited that Peggy George is here live with us, although it's weird. She texted in and then I don't see the live streamer, but hopefully she's here. We're going to talk about AI news because there's a lot going on, in case you haven't noticed. Perhaps media literacy, social media, multiple security articles, the miscellaneous, and we'll close with our geeks of the week. But I think I saw that you put in quite a few Jason demos, and I know we talked about maybe just like doing a demo show. So maybe we should just ditch the articles and go straight to demos. I'm up for whatever you want to do.
Well, I'd say let's do some articles because I think there's some really interesting stuff there. And since I have not dug in on it, Dr. Fryer, why don't you start with the Wi-Fi router ban? Because that's I know. Crazy. I mean, I know the big picture, but whatever research you've done would be very informative to me personally.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let me first let everyone know you can go to edtechsr.com/links and you can get to our show notes. I am dropping in the link to the Google Doc, which is linked there. And we're going to hopefully get to most of these articles. So the security article that's the lead is PC Magazine yesterday on March 24th. And the headline is FCC just banned the sale of new Wi-Fi router models made outside the United States. And so the backstory that we've talked about in the show before is that, the Internet of Things and home, devices that connect to the internet are significant security risks because a lot of folks don't update the software that's inside their devices. Many of them do not have good security. Did we do the vacuum cleaner article a couple weeks ago? Did we get to do that one? I don't know if we did. This guy hacked 7,000 vacuums because basically it was just this horribly designed security deal where he was able to go in and then use the same password and somehow control thousands of vacuums. Okay. Well, Wi-Fi routers, I've played with. Have you done some open router stuff before?
I have been opening up, going back almost probably 20 years now.
Yeah. So being able to, modify the firmware in your router, and there's things that geeks do, that can be good. That can be cool. But what's not cool is when, a foreign adversary, a foreign government, or just an entity, hackers, bad actors, are taking control of devices in your home. And we've talked about denial of service attacks, zombie botnets, which are crazy. It's when basically hackers have control over all these different devices and they can send all these pings. Well, anyway, there are issues with foreign control of technology. We've talked about Huawei. It's been quite a while since we've done that. But, the ban of chips and the ways in which the United States and China are competing not only in their own markets, but in the world markets as far as who's going to deploy, 5G infrastructure, and basically the idea of like spying, being able to hack, being able to do, we would say, bad actor things, through devices. So the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission of the United States, on Monday afternoon announced an order that is based on a White House determination that foreign-made routers, quote, introduce supply chain vulnerabilities that hackers and cyber spies can exploit. Now, that's true. And we've talked about that a bunch on the show. But it actually put on its covered list all consumer-grade routers produced in foreign countries. And the thing is, and it wasn't clear with these articles, like, do we have routers that are actually sold for consumers here that don't get produced in China? I think it was Netgear maybe that released some praise for it. A vendor did, but it's not existing, routers that we have. But if you have any new routers, even if they're designed in the United States, but they're produced abroad, they are banned. They'll not be eligible for marketing or sale in the U.S., FCC Chairman Brendan Carr wrote on X, which it seems like so many things, are released on social media. So PC Magazine released another article the same day, which is basically an FAQ, the FCC's Wi-Fi router ban explained, your biggest questions. And it is everything. There are some specific routers that have been identified, like TP-Link, because it's Chinese owned. But the thing is, they didn't come up with the proof, and there weren't studies. It was just this blanket ban. So I don't even know. We are a Google Home. I don't know where Google routers and Google Wi-Fi is manufactured. I personally think it is really great and good for us to think about our domestic capacity to be able to produce things, and it's good to make stuff, right? But I also think there's a lot of benefit from international trade and international commerce. And without proof and evidence, because there are these potential capabilities, but without evidence, this really seems like, kind of a shoot from the hip, broad-based thing that may have maybe some unintended consequences. And like I said, these articles didn't even make it clear if we knew which routers are major consumer brands that don't get produced outside the United States. So, Dr. Neifer, where are you with your home router situation? And have you changed that much? Because to the point of updating software, our Google Nest does automatically update, but it's kind of a sit and forget thing. I don't honestly worry about it that much. And so I don't know what my plan is in terms of updating. I know that we have it's like a smoke alarm and carbon monoxide alarm, and it has an end of life. I think that's in this April. So that is an internet connected IoT, device that I will replace, but it's kudos to Google for, having an end of life. And so I'm going to have to get something new. Peggy's posting in the chat. I wonder who's monitoring that. Not sure it's being monitored. Yes, Peggy, it's a huge issue because we've got all kinds of security vulnerabilities being identified. Companies do release some patches, and conscientious ones do, like Google, and Apple too, I think. But there's companies out there that just sell stuff. Sometimes they go bankrupt. These devices are still out there, and they can be hacked. So your thoughts, Dr. Neifer?
Yeah, several actually, but I guess I'll start with the notion that so you said Netgear jumped in and said this was a good thing.
Yeah, I think that was at the end of the article, and it was kind of weird. It was like a sort of a posturing comment that they made. I'll see if I can get the quote here. Yeah. Meanwhile, Netgear has applauded the ban. Quote, as a U.S. founded and headquartered company with a legacy of American innovation, Netgear has long invested in security first design, blah, blah, blah. So,
except that I'll also tell you that they are a U.S. based company, but manufactures its products primarily in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so
TP-Link manufactures in Vietnam. It's warned that, quote, the entire router industry will be impacted. You can file for exemptions. I don't know. So, and this could just be part of, there's a lot of political theater going on today, if folks haven't noticed that. So it doesn't affect us and the routers that we have, but it is going to be something to, keep our eyes on. One of the questions was, can I bring a, foreign made router into the United States? Would that be illegal? And yeah, I guess under this order, It appears that it would be. So, but the broader point is we do need to be aware of these security vulnerabilities. We need to be auditing not that this is going to happen. We're going to say this and, I don't know how many people are going to listen to this, but we all should be auditing the devices we have in our home, and we should be considering when we need to end of life them, even if it's not going to have an end of life. So,
it's funny because I think that's actually very common, especially amongst I'm not even talking about the people that are turning over routers are really people like you and me, right? The kind of the nerd set. And then if you've got a nerd in the family, I make sure that, all those folks that I've provided, family IT guy support to, we check their routers and make sure they're still getting firmware updates. But the other point I wanted to make is that And you reminded me of it when you talked about the guy that hacked the firmware of the IoT devices. Like one of the realities is that it's not even just about brand names. I think there's strategic issues, or strategic problems with the major manufacturers, right? Like you could see one of them being pressured by the Chinese government to add backdoors into routers, like yada yada yada. But there is a huge security risk if you're just buying random Internet of Things devices on places like Amazon.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about this. One of the major manufacturers is that makes IoT devices. I don't think it was Belkin, but I would need to look. But because I got a notification a couple of weeks ago that they're no longer supporting some of the devices I have in my house.
I
Right?
remember, I think you mentioning that during the show. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a good thing. It's highly annoying because I'm fairly sure that they could continue to upgrade the firmware, but they're choosing not to, so people will buy their new devices, right? It seems to me that that the hardware footprint on these devices is so minimal that I would assume that even a very cheap chip can last a long time. But if you go to Amazon, there's 100 of bizarre brand names you never heard of before selling smart light bulbs and smart switches and all sorts of Internet of Things devices that firmware is really easily hackable.
I'm going to recommend to everybody, not surprisingly, that we use our secret weapon, which is not a secret. It's called artificial intelligence, because it is amazing. And I'm thoroughly in the Claude camp now. I am continuing to make my images in Google. Claude is creating my image prompts,
Yeah.
but vibe coding stuff for school. There's a lot going on. I haven't had time to even share it, but I've done some spinners this time with some stuff I downloaded from Canvas and custom stuff. But when you're looking for devices, the reason why I have the Home Assistant successfully running, thanks to Dr. Neifer telling me about it, which is this DIY home automation platform, and then I have light bulbs and things, and I'm using Zigbee, which is a low energy alternative to Wi-Fi. AI helped me with that, and so we can put in prompts like, please give me an analysis of these companies, their, track record for updating firmware, etc. You remember me telling the story about the Oklahoma Mandarin Chinese firmware in the light switch? Have I told that
Yeah,
story?
I do remember
Yeah,
that.
because it was just,
Yeah.
it was so weird. I was like, oh, I need to update. No, I noticed that
Yeah.
this light switch was phoning home, meaning like, why is it uploading packets? Like that's weird. I mean, maybe it was telling the server what version it had or something. But anyway, the firmware was in Mandarin. I don't read Mandarin. And I'm like, okay, this seems a little weird. And so anyway, I don't install hard, switches now. I use plugs that I can, more readily change. But
Yeah. Well, and depending on how this goes in the coming weeks and months, I mean, that tells me that I may want to consider buying some. And I very rarely buy brand new networking equipment. I almost always look for refurbished stuff that's a year or so old because the price is so much lower. Places like Woot, you can usually pick up pretty decent networking gear for next to nothing. But I think I would be tempted especially if it was compatible with I currently have it's a Netgear Nighthawk, um, not cloud,
it has a
but
lot of antennas if it's a Nighthawk, right?
yeah, it does. Well, actually, no, this is just a box, 3 boxes, but it's
Oh,
mesh networking. And
oh,
so, and because I'm fairly convinced that my house has something weird in the walls that makes the Wi-Fi not go super far. I have these 3 nodes up across my house, and that's been really great. But I if I can install one of the open source firmwares there, I think I would choose to do so because that's been a winning combination for me. And then you get a lot more control over what updates and making sure that there's nothing fishy in your Wi-Fi network.
it's going to be super interesting to see what kinds of AI enabled tools that we can have. I don't know. Did you ever, what was that called? What's something Shark? It was the thing that lets you do this very complex bandwidth analysis.
Wireshark, maybe?
Wireshark. Yes, Wireshark. Which, I mean, you want to talk about a tool that you could take unstructured data from and then throw it into an AI and say,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
tell me what's going on with this. I do that now with my cPanel and my
Yeah.
WHM and my web host and stuff, because there'll be all these error logs and stuff like that. And I need to sit down and do more of that. But the point is, right now have my my Google Home, and I've upgraded. I did it with a beta upgrade. Maybe everyone has it now, but I had the option a few weeks ago to say, would you like to enable Gemini and more sophisticated conversations with your smart assistant? Why, yes, I would. And yes, thank you. We have a contributor who said Wireshark as well. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that, because being able to, I mean, this is the interesting thing about trust, right? I mean, we trust ecosystems now. And to your point, Jason, I think it is really good to be wary and careful of getting strange devices that you don't know about. And then especially entrusting things like a door lock or a garage door or something, or, be careful out there, folks. It's dangerous. But yeah, Peggy says, if you had conversations with your computer, Bernie Sanders released a video this week where he had this. Did you see this with Claude?
I did, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. It's like 2001 or whatever. What was the computer there? But I'm looking forward to that. I think having real-time monitoring of that can be positive and possibly then help us identify when something is not functioning as it should on our network. Because this stuff is complicated, but that is where AI can really help us, and we'll hopefully be able to do that. But on the backside, and we'll talk about this, it makes the hackers all the more powerful and capable.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, according to Wired, the only U.S. manufactured Wi-Fi routers there's a handful of the Starlink Wi-Fi routers, which are made in Texas. But that's it. Everyone else manufactures them overseas, and most of the core parts and components in Starlink Wi-Fi routers are made in Taiwan. So that gives you a sense of that too.
Well, here's a quick segue to a miscellaneous article that ties to SpaceX and Starlink. And I think, is your mom on Starlink? Do you have a Starlink connection in
My
your family?
parents-in-law were on Starlink, but then because for a long time they had access to just terrible DSL,
Okay.
but now they have fiber up in their neighborhood.
Oh my gosh,
way up in the mountains.
Crazy. All right. Well, this is an article also from PC Magazine from yesterday. Can you tell what I was looking at yesterday? And the title is SpaceX prepares to increase upload speeds on Starlink dishes. And basically, they're appealing to the FCC, another FCC article, for additional bandwidth because as a lot of providers, fiber, like we're symmetric at our house, 500 megs down, half a gig down, half a gig up, which is awesome. But typically, with cable modems and then definitely with satellite, especially back in the day, what was that, Hughes internet? I mean, it was terrible upload. So Starlink is trying to get additional bandwidth and be able to, allow folks to push more bandwidth up. And while I am not a big Elon Musk fan, I am, quite excited about the potential to be able to have satellite connectivity via my phone, via a device that we would take camping or in an RV or something like that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, the thing is, we're having so much congestion in low Earth orbit, and we have a child that will be finding out next month whether she'll be going into Space Force. Actually, she's still a year and a half away from graduating, but folks are tracking all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there's probably not like a lot of commentary on that, but have you ever been connected via SpaceX?
I have, yeah.
Starlink, I should say.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, the ping rate isn't super great, but it's better than what a lot of rural broadband is. So in the end, it's kind of very similar.
Starlink connections were one of the most important ways to stay connected in Western North Carolina during Hurricane Helene a couple years ago, because being able to just use your devices, phones, and people could just connect was really a big deal. So no, Peggy's asking about going into space. Space Force is not the astronaut corps. So Space Force is a branch of the military, like the Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and you can commission out of the Air Force Academy right into the Space Force. And they commission about 100 cadets of 1,000 every year into Space Force. So she'll go to training for a year and either control satellites, which she's already actually done. She has like satellite wings now because she's controlled the cadet satellite. Or you can be in cyber, both offensive and defensive, and other things, many secret things, I'm sure, too. All right, what would you like to do next, Dr. Neifer? Or is it demo time?
Well, let's see. Maybe we should do a demo.
Let's do a demo.
Okay, let me pitch you some options here. So if you're happy to show you any of these, I could talk about I've redabbled in OpenClaw and have some things to report. I also have something that I shared more widely for the first time this week, but it's a Google image generation lab that I have done with high school principals and superintendents. And then the last one's kind of a silly one. I just found it a couple hours ago, but Google has an AI generated browser experience that's pretty wild. So it's called a flashlight browser. But anything tempt you there?
I want to do it all. Why don't we go to OpenClaw? Because that's one of the ones that certainly had a lot of hype, and I think also sort of portends the future of agentic AI. So
yeah, totally. I could not agree more. So give me a second here. I'm going to share my screen.
By the way, and we have a comment from one of our online viewers about protecting the moon. We got to visit with our son, who works at the Johnson Space Center as a NASA contractor tonight. And I hadn't realized that Isaacman and as a NASA director made some huge announcements yesterday about Artemis and what they're doing. They're going to try to launch Artemis next week, and they're changing up quite a bit of the plans. We're not doing Gateway. We're going to build a lunar base and all this stuff. So anyway, we talk about space stuff sometimes.
Okay, so this should work. Okay, there we go. So we've talked about OpenClaw before, which is the agentic, open source agentic system that is lead developed by a guy that was picked up by OpenAI. So that happened several weeks ago. And we talked about this in some detail, but what we mean by agentic is that it can act largely on its own. And it is a pretty massive security risk, I think, but I have followed a lot of instructions on how to lock down my instance. It has access to no outside data, and I've locked it down pretty well. But the idea here is that it goes 24 hours a day. It just stays on, and you can give it instructions to do things on your behalf. And so many people have done the like morning briefing, right? Go check my email, go research headlines, find the articles from the last 36 hours and this and that. And it does that kind of stuff really well. But what I wanted to do is to look at, like, if I could get it to do tasks that we've been working on as part of a kind of a human in the loop thing at the Montana Digital Academy. And so I set it up. It took me a little while and more credits than I care to say, about $30 worth of compute to get an Obsidian vault set up. And then the idea here is that I have a Linux box that I installed OpenClaw on, and I access AI through OpenRouter, which we've also talked about in the past.
A cloud-based Linux box. This isn't a physical computer in your location.
This is one sitting in my house, actually.
Oh, it is sitting. Okay.
So, yeah, and the reason why I did that, and I've also installed Tailscale, which I think we've also talked about on the podcast in the past. But Tailscale basically allows me to create a virtual private network with my home computers and be able to access them from anywhere else, but if I'm logged into both places. So instead of setting up like WhatsApp or one of the chat pieces, I'm just logging in via the command line. And so basically it looks like your computer.
Is it a headless computer then?
It is a headless computer, as a matter of fact, and just sitting on my network at home. And so all of my interaction with it is via text, back and forth in the terminal, and I have a secure tunnel into my terminal at home, but it still works great. And what I did this past weekend was experiment with saying, here is some checklists and guides on how to develop a course, and I'd like you to develop a high school 9th grade geography course for me. And I did my typical prompt add-on, which is, ask me questions one by one, giving me options if possible until you're 98% sure you can do what I'm asking at a high level.
And let me just interrupt to say that is a fantastic tip. I've been using it in basically every interaction I have with Gemini and with Claude, and it is just great because it asks me questions and then does a better job. It's fantastic. It's a great tip.
Yeah, and I think that's also, I want to continue to have dialogue before I get spit out its most generic answer, right? So it asked me actually a sum total of 19 questions, which is kind of a lot of questions in that scenario. And I would have absolutely said, like, enough questions, move on, which I oftentimes have to do if it starts to dig too deeply. But in this case, I really wanted to give good output. So it basically did a kind of a typical backwards design of a course. And it took a little prodding to get through module one. And then I gave it some feedback. Go ahead.
Can you zoom in a little bit? Because the
Yeah.
text is a little small there so we can see. These are the modules of the course that it created for you.
Yep. And originally, it gave me 3 files for each one. I said, no. It was basically like a glorified lesson plan. I said, no, I want all of the materials available to me. So I want you to go much deeper. And so it did. And then it went back and revised all of its modules to make them like the first one in regards to its depth.
Did you give it a sample example?
No, but it did ask me pretty interesting questions to suggest that it understood kind of what I was looking for. And so, these are the various files that were created. This is the teacher guide. That's a resources page that kind of walks you through the folders and also gives you some links outside that it would suggest that you use. That's a student handout. That is an activity on understanding bias and perspective in maps. That's the lesson plans, which is kind of like the teacher's guide, a longitude latitude exercise, a 5 themes exercise, a DBQ or document-based question, an assessment tracker, the answer keys for everything, and then the actual lessons. In this case, it's 1 through 8, but it skipped 3 for some reason. But it has all these pieces here and walks you through this step by step, right? And I will be very clear. I would not recommend doing this. I'm not doing this because this is the way you should develop a course. I actually believe in a very interactive process. I wouldn't want the whole course to be done at once because I would want to work with it and provide it resources and give it feedback. But the point is that it took about 18 hours. And I figured out a better model to do the compute, and it was about $1.80 in total compute through Open Router, and it created this entire class for me, a year-long.
So in other words, you paid for that 18 hours, and it cost you $1.80.
Yes. Now, to be clear, it was a model that wasn't a frontier model. It's one that I had figured out was inexpensive and did pretty well. I'm 100% sure the outcomes would be better if I used, Claude, for example. But that would have been very expensive. But one of the things that I'm looking at doing is that you can set up Open Router so it goes to different models based on what you ask.
Yeah.
And so imagine for a moment, the first draft is done by the cheaper model, and then you come back and have Claude rewrite it for clarity, and that would be a way to diminish the cost, I think, pretty substantially. So it's pretty wild stuff.
Wow. Well, and this also just makes me think of the power of the prompt, right? And the power of the super prompt. We've talked about Mike Caulfield's deep background, which is a sort of AI level SIFT. But, and maybe you're already doing this, Jason, as far as developing really sophisticated prompts at the academy. And then you're going to be using those over and over again to create a course module, like maybe to create a course, but probably to create modules and chunks and activities. And the fact that any of these can then be, exported and saved and then say, hey, make me a SCORM compliant Moodle importable or Canva importable, quiz or whatever, here's the format of the CSV I need, throw it into MCQ, give me 20 good multiple choice questions for 8th graders. And then format it, doing the coding to format it. If you haven't been experiencing this, It really is phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, couldn't agree more. So, yeah, so again, pretty interesting stuff. But the fact that it needed minimal nudging to be able to create the course, and really, I didn't give it any expert references, right? That's the other thing I would give if I were doing this for real, for real, for real. But it did a pretty great job.
Did you notice any glaring errors? Obviously, you're doing this for geography, you're deep in this content. Anything that seemed to be hallucinated or just like way off base, or broken links, or things that were not good?
Yeah, nothing that came totally off that way, but I did go through one of, I think it was one of the student note sheets, and did do a kind of a me fact check for the particular worksheet. And there's probably 10 or 12 maybe overall claims in there I'd want to fact check, right? And I used the deep background. Well, I did a little research myself on most of them, and then I was curious to see what deep background would give me, and that's that GPT for my call field, and it walked through the claims, and it said they were mostly true. But the reason why I was only mostly is because my version of it simplified the issue, right? And for a ninth grade reader, and that's you. It depends on what the concept is, but I may want to simplify it with a relatively minimal text for students.
What is curriculum going to look like in 5 or 10 years? Are students going to walk into a classroom? The teacher is going to talk about content, and they're going to have a laptop computing device that's going to be able to generate the content customized for them and their preferred modality. It's really wild.
Yeah, it really is. And actually, now that you say that, I do want to show off that Google thing.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see all your demos, honestly.
Yeah, pop me off for 1 second.
While Jason is doing that, I'll mention that Flint AI is the tool that our school licenses, although I have heard rumors about some folks possibly testing the ChatGPT for schools and some other things. But I have been creating activities this week in Flint AI, which I think is Claude based. It was ChatGPT based. So anyway, it's been phenomenal to be able to design custom activities for my students, and then my students are able to interact in an AI environment that is privacy protected, and it also logs and documents what they do. Not so I'm just big brother with them, but so we can have conversations about that. And I continue to emphasize with them the importance of documenting what they're doing, because that's going to let us have meaningful conversations about what they've done or not done and what they've learned.
Yeah, totally. Well, this is Google AI Studio project called Flashlight Browser. So the point of this isn't that it's a legitimate tool yet. It very much isn't, but it shows you how quickly the technology is progressing and could put together a very real world experience in real time, right? And so this is looks like the Chrome web browser, and I'm going to say imagine any website. The website for the EdTech Situation Room podcast. I don't know if it will, how deeply it will go to the web to find out more about us. That's part of why I put this prompt in. But the point is, look how quickly this happens.
So it's going to create this?
Yeah, it's generating this from scratch.
What?
Yeah.
It did a pretty good summary of that.
Yeah, it did. And
Whoa.
2,611 tokens it took to do this, which is not, a huge amount. I imagine if you surf for a while, that's probably going to create some issues. But yeah, it figured out who we are. It has some old episodes here, kind of random episodes. So it doesn't get all the episodes exactly right. And I'm just going to click on listen live here and see what it says.
It says it's generating it, so maybe it's generating the page as you click instead of having generated.
It is, I think, and it's also looks like it's not going to work. But
what about
I am going to click on.
Let's go to about page. About there at the top. It's interesting as a web design teacher, thinking about what. Oh, look, am I a Lego guy? I'm a Lego avatar.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
a
yeah.
computer.
And I'm just a computer.
I'm a Lego minifig, baby. And what does it say? I am a digital learning consultant with a focus on media literacy and creative workflows. That's not bad. Our
And
philosophy.
I hear I have deep expertise in curriculum design. Deep.
There you go. We believe technology shouldn't just be an add-on. It should fundamentally change the way we facilitate inquiry. Foster. Hey, that's not bad.
That's pretty good. I'm impressed.
Okay, so
so the fact that it does this in real time, right? So this website's never existed before. It's just generating it and giving you a relatively functional interface.
But apparently it's using either its background knowledge and its training data, or it could be going out to search. I think it's probably using what it has in training data, because I find I usually have to prompt the AI to actually go out and search. A lot of times it'll return something and it'll just be what's in its training data.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy stuff.
So you're telling me then, again, from a prompting standpoint, if you can prompt with specificity and detail, this is then going to take that and run with it and make your website.
Yeah, I think it will.
And you need to have a pro account with...
I have no idea. I do have a pro account, but I think this is just a model inside the studio. So I think
this is crazy.
Do it.
I'm going to show this to my web design kids. Wow.
And then look, there's a remix button on here too.
Huh. And I think, so this for me, again, I teach middle school web design now, speaks to the importance of best practices and design, right? Because if you know the colors that you want, if you know the vibe that you want, what was that presentation you put together? I think it's been multiple months ago, but it was like, what was the different design vibes? Because you were really going with...
Oh, when I was talking about semiotics.
Was it called semiotics? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's part of what demo number 3 is tonight, actually, is something along those lines. But yeah, it was kind of how to vibe design things.
Right. I want to see that presentation. When and where can I come see it at a theater near me?
Well, you're going to see the primary demo right now.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. See, folks, look at this. Worth the price of admission tonight. Getting to see.
So this is a culmination of a long time playing with this, and I think it's kind of hard to demonstrate how powerful all these tool sets are if you don't see it kind of in hand. So when you come across something that's really extraordinary, I think you kind of owe it to the world just a little bit to show it off to others, because people don't, like that. There's very few experts in this space. People are stabbing in the dark, and sometimes they're hitting, but when you do, I think you owe it to others to share. So this is actually a document that you can go to and make a copy of yourself. The idea here is it's a process you're learning. So I'm actually going to make a copy of this because I don't want to mess with my original. And so the idea here is that you are a school principal, you're the cheer coach, you're a wrestling mom, and you want to develop some graphics around your local school logo and/or mascot, right? And so I'm going to ask you to share one with me here in a moment, Wes. But generally speaking, we are going to take the vibe out of your school logo or your school mascot, and then create a design language so you can design other graphics that look much like it, because you've extracted the design language. So that's the idea here. So you're looking for a logo that is relatively clear. So probably a crappy old GIF would probably work, but the better the source image, the more likely you are to get an accurate pull from it. The resolution should be the highest quality you have available. And you pick this, and it's kind of what everything else is generated off of. So pick carefully, in other words, right? So Wes, do you have a one you'd like to try here that I can grab?
I mean, could we do my current school, the Providence Day School Chargers? We are the Chargers, which is a horse. It could be interesting. I was with Yukon Public Schools in Oklahoma for a while, and they had the miller, but of course he had to look very aggressive and mean. Yep, that's our charger. It's on a
Okay.
white background and a blue. So
that is actually perfect for what we're doing here.
okay, cool.
So I am going to grab this, save. Nope, I want to save image as. I'm going to put that on my desktop. Okay, and now I'm going to go back here, and we're going to start off by extracting the design DNA from the image. And so you can do
Oh, and
this.
so this is a prompt. This is a copy and paste
It is.
prompt.
Yep. So it's just like ChatGPT does this really well, and Gemini does this really well, and the free versions will do this. So you don't even need fancy Gemini. But I'm going to go ahead and use Gemini for this. And I am going to add that image that we just pulled off the web. And then I am going to
basically have a best practice design analysis of everything we can say about this logo.
Yep, that's exactly it, right? And it's looking for things
Did
like
you go
color
thinking
palette.
thinking model or fast? Did you just leave it at fast?
You know what? I probably will go thinking model on this just because I have it available to me.
Okay.
Although I'm sure fast would work just great too, especially that this is not that complex of a logo, right?
I have not run into any. I mean, I'm not running out of stuff as long as I'm using thinking or fast. And
yeah,
I'm using fast all the time to get alt text, but whenever I do like image prompts and stuff, I
totally. Okay, so it's relatively short and sweet. So I'm going to grab that now, and then I've created like a prompt worksheet, right? And so in this particular case, the design brief is here.
That we just got from Gemini. And that's new. Gemini, they put that in. So Gemini said, that's just a little attribution there.
Okay, so the prompt is, you are a graphic designer who develops requested design outputs using a design brief for a client. The client is not design savvy, but can answer client level questions. And so from there, create an image. It's described below. Pitch me at least three different approaches. And do you have a logo for our wrestling team or for something else?
Let's see. Why don't we go for water polo? Which we don't have, but that's just for fun. Can we do water polo and equestrian? Which we do not have either. Or water polo and equestrian. Yeah, it would be.
No, it's water polo equestrian, Wes. We're gonna just go for it and see what it does.
Okay. All right. So we're basically then asking it to. It's going to generate ideas based on the logo that we have, the design motifs, styles.
Yep. Now, there's other things in this guide about other ways that you can tweak the image, based on that kind of semiotics thing that I was talking about last year. But basically, we're just going to go as is and see how close it is to the original. But your design who develops requested design. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all. This is my prompt, and I'm going to do this in Gemini as well. So I will get a new image or a new screen here, and I am going to create an image, and it has my prompt.
Again, faster thinking.
Yeah, I'll go fast. See what happens.
I'm scared of that.
And then I'm also going to do the same thing in ChatGPT because it has the ability to do this as well.
The few times I've done images in Claude, it's been very underwhelming.
Let's see, create image, and put my design brief in there. Okay, so it's pitching me 3 designs here. It's fantastic that you're focusing on such a specialized design. Thank you for your second C, Google Gemini. I have 3 distinct approaches here. Think about which one feels most like your team's. They follow your design rules, but emphasize different parts of your brief. The integrated speed strike, high performance and aggressive. This approach focuses on raw power and combined
A
action.
muscular hand emerging from the water. Yes.
Yeah. These are weirdly specific. Approach B is the classic crest with linear motion. More established look will place the action side a classic yet modern shield crest.
So this is just generating prompts for us. It's not generating the images yet. It's just giving us the textual descriptions of what these could look like.
Right. And then approach C is the abstract kinesthetic angle. The most modern and graphic heavy approach. It moves away from human or detailed human forms and leans into the high contrast geometry and kinetic speed of your brief. So, Dr. Fryer, you being the representative, well, I'm not going to say that.
The water polo equestrian representative.
Right. Which one would you like? Would you like approach A, which is the integrated speed strike, approach B, the classic crest with linear motion, or approach C, the abstract kinesthetic angle?
Oh, let's go approach A and be aggressive.
So we're going to say, do A, please. And hopefully it jumps into here. Yep, create my image. Okay.
What? That was so fast. Oh, like,
wow.
Gosh. Water polo equestrian.
Actually, no, this is the one we had on the background. This is a ChatGPT.
Oh, okay.
It just did it right away because I didn't tell it to ask us questions.
Oh, okay. So it went ahead and generated all 3.
I'm gonna do that one more time.
So do you ride your horse in the water, I guess, but you still throw the ball? So
yeah. I mean that, and it mixed it well together, didn't it? Okay, so
I actually had a classmate. I think he was in my freshman squadron in college. Who was water polo, man. Tough sport. Okay, well they went ahead and separated it. Okay, interesting. So ChatGPT did make the combination, but Claude realized these are 2 separate sports. So
yeah. And
wow.
I think that looks pretty legit, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So then I was playing around with 2 good friends on Sunday night, Jeff Cruz and Dean Phillips, who are superintendents in Western Montana. And we were working on this prompt process, and they started doing kind of the kind of Reddit style prompts to do interesting things with a design brief. And I'm going to say this time, please make a 6-inch figurine, or no, collectible figurine in box of a student from this school.
What does in box mean?
In box means it's like a collector's figure, like you would buy or sell something in the box, so it has more value.
Is it okay? Is this going to be like a 3D printable, or?
Well, no, it's going to be let's see. I'm not entirely sure.
I haven't even tried that. Like, hey, give me an STL file I can directly put into my 3D printer. Never remove from the box.
Yeah, good advice.
If you want it to maintain its value.
Okay. Yep. There we go.
Oh, yeah. People were doing this for themselves, making themselves like action heroes and stuff.
Yeah. And in fact, we could even say, okay, the figures.
I forgot about those pictures. It's interesting. I think there was an app maybe that did that, or I don't know, maybe it was a website, but that was like a sort of a meme or a thing that was happening where everybody was like, not everybody, but a lot of people on Facebook were making action figure versions of themselves as teachers.
Excuse me. Couldn't find my cough button. There we go. So we'll just do that one. But there's literally limitless possibilities here. And my superintendent buddies were making action figures and pictures of statues and bobblehead dolls, and it was pretty impressive.
So technical question, do you know why Gemini has been able in the last however many months to modify an existing image and not generate it again? I mean, that was a pretty big breakthrough.
Good question. Other than I know Nano Banana by almost every account was an incredible step forward when it was released, and you don't hear a whole lot about Midjourney anymore. I finally gave up my subscription to Ideogram, which is also still a really great model, but this is better.
Yeah, I mean, everything's in Gemini Nano Banana, but the value of prompting and getting a really detailed prompt in Claude, it's stunning. And then, like you said, you called it an anchor image, and didn't have that vocabulary, but I've done the same thing. In fact, I do it with our show. Here, do you mind going to our Substack real quick, or just do edtechsr.com, and then you can click our Substack link, which, by the way, folks, hey, if you're not following us on Facebook, please do. We're at 64. So if you click the orange link there under subscribe, it'll go to the Substack, and then click no thanks. There you go. I mean, these are all using pictures of Jason and I as the base image. And then, sometimes I'm taking the transcript of the show, having it extract the key themes. And, you can see when I started doing those, because a lot of these are just actual pictures from our show. But
yeah, this is kind of funny. It's like the many faces of Jason Neifer.
I know, isn't it funny? And just finding that exact frame, they're like, yes, this is the moment of laughter I want to try to preserve forever.
You go Falls.
I know, it's just so fun. Okay, so we have seen the full image generation lab for educators demo now.
Yep,
that's amazing. Now,
I'm pretty impressed with the whole process.
Is this a parlor trick primarily, or do you do it as a hands-on?
No, we did it as a hands-on lab with the crew, but I do this all the time. Actually, it's how we developed our kind of our theming around the Frontier Learning Lab. We had a logo, which was adapted from an older logo, unofficial logo we were using. And then we asked for, we added that to a topographical map of Glacier National Park and pushed it together. So I added 2 images to it, right? And then I ran through basically that exact same process and got that design brief. And from there, we developed icons and backgrounds, and it gave us some theme or some layout designs for the themes. And I just created a custom theme in Google Slides. It was extremely satisfying as a wannabe graphic designer to do it. But also it looks really great, and it's very custom. And to usually get someone to do a very custom slideshow for you or slide theme for you is a pretty expensive process. And to be honest, I was very inspired to then go read some more about good slide design, and turned out well.
It just occurred to me that we could grab the transcripts of like the last year of our show, and then generate some outlines for our book. I'm continuing to work on Jason to say we need to do this Playing with AI book. I really think some of the best professional development we can do, and we're not doing this in my department at this point, and we should, is just like sharing, what are you doing? What are some of the things that you're doing? Demonstrate those, and then encouraging each other to play and use the tools.
Yeah, I should note it was a play date on Sunday night that we hosted at the school administrator superintendent tech conference, and so it was great. Shout out to Rob Watson and Jim Tucker for their setup of the conference. And then we hung around with a lot of our superintendent and tech director buddies, and also folks from K-12, Montana Inc., and School AI. So it was great to hang around with so many folks that wanted to talk about the hard issues.
Absolutely. Hey, you want to do a little speed round with a couple more articles, and then we can Geek of the Week it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This was, I don't know why I am still using, by the way, I for a couple months now, the Vivaldi browser. I just love it. It is so good, but sometimes it's weird with copy and paste. This is an article from Tech Times of India. This was on March 20th, and The article is U.S. government sends Microsoft message to companies after hackers brought down one of America's biggest companies for days. And I mean, you're not hearing it first, but these kinds of articles that we have shared for years now, because we've been doing this for 10 years. I think we have.
Yeah.
All this AI stuff is just super powered charging. This is super fuel for bad actors. And so sadly, we're just going to continue to see more and more hacks, and no one is invulnerable to those. I want to share a Verity article. Are you familiar with Verity as a news source? It is Max Tegmark at MIT. This is his foundation, Improving the News. So next week for the Media Education Lab, we're going to host a webinar that's going to be about Verity. And basically, it uses a lot of AI tools, but also human curated. This particular article from March 17th, Teens Sue AI Over Grok's Explicit Deepfakes. I really like what they do with an article, because what they do first is they present, quote unquote, the facts, which multiple news sources agree on. And so they have a grid over there. Well, shoot, I could share it real fast. I'm going to limit how much we can do if I do this. Make sure I get the right one. Okay, so here's the article. This is on Verity.news, and there's the headline, there's the picture, and so now we have the facts, okay, that they agree on. These are Tennessee teenagers, including 2 minors, class action lawsuit in California against Elon Musk's AI, alleging that Grok's image generator was used to produce child sexual abuse material from real photos of them. Now, over here on the right, we've got a grid showing where the different sources are in terms of the political spectrum, left, center, and right. And then it also, interestingly, has pro-establishment, center, and then critical of the establishment, which I think is an interesting grid. And so then we can show more, and it's got more facts that those agree on, and then it presents the spin. So from the pro-establishment narrative, this is what the case is, and that's like from NPR. And then if it's establishment critical, and then it's got the sources down here. And then it has what prediction markets are saying about this too, which I think is kind of interesting because prediction markets are such a big deal. But anyway, I got a couple articles like that, and I think Verity has become a tool that I am using regularly to check out the news. So, and it's completely free. There is no paid version, and so far I like it.
Yep, that's super cool. Thanks for sharing.
You want to pick an article?
Yeah. What? I got lost because I was digging in on Verity. Why don't you do one?
Okay. Let's see if I can still do my screen. My wife was listening to this today. This is the latest podcast by Oprah, and it is called Oprah and Tech Leaders on What AI Means for Your Job, Health, Family, and Future. I grabbed the transcript of it and asked Claude to give me the key points. Tristan Harris, who some of you may recognize from the Center for Humane Technology. Tristan is the fellow that brought us The Social Dilemma, Ask a Raskin. They're both on there, really talking about the warning with AI and how we need to try to slow things down, how we need to regulate, how we don't need to just let the tech companies do whatever they want. And they are referencing, and I guess we're getting close to the top of the hour. I could jump. They're referencing what I was going to share in my Geek of the Week, but I think that's good. Hey, you put the Sora one in. Can you do that one real quick about Disney?
I will do that one real quick, and then I have some breaking news, Wes.
Okay.
Sora, or OpenAI has announced that Sora is shutting down. And for those of you who don't remember Sora, it started off as a video generation platform, and its second generation turned into a video generation platform, social media cross, and the back and forth just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And so they announced that it was closing. No idea yet about what the next generation of video might look like. But Disney, which had licensed its IP to the Sora platform, has pulled their agreement with OpenAI. And so that's important to note because that was a kind of a sign that media companies would just start to license their content to AI. But the fact that Disney was so quick to pull out and not look at another deal or figure something out with OpenAI, I think is somewhat telling, in my opinion.
Yeah, big investment loss. Okay,
And then
well,
quick breaking news. I didn't see this earlier today, but a Meta lost in court in New Mexico.
that was the 370 something $million deal.
Yep, and it's the first time social media has been ruled against in I think several series of lawsuits,
Yeah,
and could be a sign of a big change coming.
right. And that's in that Oprah podcast about AI. They talk about that, how long it's taken in the courts, the fight that's been going on,
Yep.
but the importance of the fight and not giving up. So, all right, sir, we should probably geek of the weekend and retire for the evening.
Yeah, I have a really quick one. Jason, your neighborhood nerd here, but I've been playing the last couple of weeks, just occasionally to look at setting things up in my house, home labbing as they call it. But I started running something called TIPI, which is a home server that you can set up in your house. It takes over an Ubuntu OS install, so you can't install this on top of anything.
As a backstory, folks, you need to know that Jason has approximately 500 computers in his home, and he's got to find new ways to use them.
Yeah. I mean, it's someone has to recycle these computers, but I installed it a couple weeks ago, and it's been fantastic. You can install like 300 different apps at one click. And it's all sorts of cool stuff like YouTube transcript creators and YouTube downloaders, and it's all open source software. You can install Home Assistant this way on a server, Wes, and so it allows you to run multiple pieces, and then you combine that with Tailscale that we talked about before, and you can access this from your own laptop anywhere in the world.
Could I do it on a Raspberry Pi, or I'd want to get
Yes,
something more
you could.
powerful?
Yeah, some people do it on a Raspberry Pi.
Huh. Yeah. Wow. Because I have a separate, what is it, Green? There's some, whatever my home assistant runs on.
Yeah.
So I still have another Raspberry Pi I haven't set up. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. So my Geek of the Week is the new documentary, which will be coming out in 2 days on Friday, coming to a theater near you. It's the AI Doc, or How I Became an Apocalyptimist. And so this is the reference documentary from the Oprah special that I mentioned. So shout out to my wife for getting me aware of this. You can find this on IMDb. This looks to me to be sort of like a social dilemma-esque video that is, there's a real who's who of folks that are interviewed here, including, the key leaders in the AI industry, but also critics like Raskin and Center for the Humane Technology, Tristan Harris, those folks. So yeah, coming to a theater near you. Full disclosure, I think we will probably go see the new Mars movie that was like by the Martian. What is that one? Have you been to the movies lately, Jason?
No, I haven't been to a movie in a long time.
Okay. Here I am trying to.
Oh, I want to see
Andy Weir,
the new one.
That Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary.
I've read that book twice. It's really good.
Yeah, I haven't read. I started it, but anyway, that one's out. We're probably gonna go see that. But anyway, that concludes, I think, our Geeks of the Week tonight.
Okay. Well, Dr. Fryer, where can people find you on the internets?
Well, and to answer Peggy's question, yes, Peggy, I'm sure the movie is going to stream, but it is supposedly coming to theaters. So you can look for it at theaters near you, opening on Friday. I am Wes Fryer, and you can find me at wesfryer.com, where there's a few links to places where I am sharing stuff. How about you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's probably the best place to find me. Jason Neifer, spelled wrong. You'll probably get there. Or I'm at aicentrist.com. But hey, this is the EdTech Situation Room. We are a once-a-week podcast on most Wednesday nights. A
fortnightly podcast.
Yeah, fortnightly. If you can't catch us live, although we hope you try, because it's fun to have people in the chat. You can always download us wherever fine our podcasts are aggregated, or even better, just go to YouTube and watch it from there. So stay safe, stay savvy, Dr. Fryer.
And please subscribe to our Facebook. We have 61 subscribers, and if we can get over 100, we haven't promoted that much, we can live stream to Facebook again.
Yeah.
Not that that's going to change the world, but
this is what the podcast glamour life looks like. We'll see you next time on the EdTech Situation Room. Good night.
Adios.